Market-based solutions to solving world issues like poverty are compelling, effective, and can tap into larger sources of capital than philanthropy alone. But it's also clear that some impact investors are skewed towards the financial side. They prioritize profit over impact when the going gets rough.
Don't just say, I'm going to go create a social enterprise because that sounds cool or because other people are doing it. If you don't feel like you like business or like making money or know how to set up good operations to make money, then it might not be a good fit.
Welcome to the Inside Forbes Council's podcast. Each episode shares transformative insights and advice from members of Forbes Councils, a group of invitation-only communities for successful executives and entrepreneurs. This is Inside Forbes Councils.
Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 23 of the Inside Forbes Council's podcast. My name is Stephen Ganoza. Today, it seems like a part of every company's brand to be a good corporate citizen. Many large firms have philanthropic arms and are engaged in what's called social impact investing. Startups and nonprofits are being built around this idea of social impact investing. But can you really invest for profit and social impact? How do you balance those different objectives? And what happens when the two are in conflict? Rupert Scofield.
Hi, my name is Rupert Scofield, and I'm the president, CEO, and co-founder of Think International, a pioneer in the field of microfinance and financial inclusion for over 30 years. Over that time, we've built a global network of microfinance institutions and banks in 20-plus countries around the world. Now we're bringing this expertise to social enterprises in other sectors through impact investing. That's what I'd like to talk to you about today, impact investing. If you're not familiar with the term, impact investing is the practice of making investments with the aim of creating positive social impact alongside a financial return. Impact investing has grown in popularity recently. Market-based solutions to solving world issues like poverty are compelling, effective, and can tap into larger sources of capital than philanthropy alone. But it's also clear that some impact investors are skewed towards the financial side. They prioritize profit over impact when the going gets rough. Delivering on the social impact side of the equation may require some difficult choices. Investors need to be committed to creating real long-term impact. They can't pull out whenever the market takes a downturn or whenever an investment fails to make market or above market rates. There is more than capital at stake here. If you claim to value social impact, you need to measure and deliver upon the social dimension just as much as the financial. So, how can those truly vested in impact stand out from other, more financially oriented investors? I've learned 3 hard lessons over the course of my career with Think International. I hope these lessons are useful to others who are wrestling with the trade-offs between social and financial returns in impact investing. The first and most essential lesson is putting the customer first. The customer is who you are intending to benefit with your investment. Social enterprises can only be effective when working in close partnership with target communities, and the enterprises you invest in should reflect that priority. Successful impact investing, particularly in emerging markets, will never work if you take a top-down approach. Your strategy and that of the organizations in which you invest needs to be informed by the people you are intending to benefit. This requires working from the ground up, generating realistic returns around the most promising customer-driven products or services, not the other way around. It also means leaving as much of the fruit of their labors with the customers as possible. As an example, shortly after the creation of our holding company, after having had a very successful year financially, I decided to reduce interest rates on our microfinance loans across the global network to the benefit of our poor and low-income clients. This decision was not met with universal acclaim on the part of our new shareholders. The second lesson is planning for patience. As impact investors, our goal must be to create the stable preconditions for enduring sustainable change. This takes time. Impact-first investors must demonstrate the commitment necessary to weather the unavoidable volatility of working in emerging markets. You need to prove that you won't jump ship when the going gets tough. Ask yourself, how will you react when economic conditions deteriorate and profits suffer or vanish in the short term? A patient capital mindset is of paramount importance. As an example, we at Finca faced a crisis when global oil and commodity prices dropped, throwing some of our most profitable operations into losses. This was accompanied by currency devaluations in most of the countries where we operated, with devastating impact on the balance sheet. This crisis prompted many of our creditors to demand an immediate return of their capital. Fortunately, we were able to persuade the majority to take a gradual, patient approach, and most of our operations survived the crisis and continue to this day. The third and final lesson is proactively monitoring your mission. If you're claiming an impact-first model, you need to back that up with solid impact measurement. This means understanding and communicating how effectively your efforts are serving all the intended beneficiaries, the investee companies, and their end customers. You should also clearly connect your organization's mission with broader industry efforts like the Sustainable Development Goals, and be prepared to elucidate exactly how that is being accomplished. These are the ways you hold yourself accountable as an impact investor. It also conveys your willingness to share what you've learned with others who are working to make real and lasting changes. These three lessons, putting the customer first, planning for patience, monitoring your mission, are the key differentiators between true impact investors and those primarily interested in profit. I hope this has been helpful, and if you'd like to learn more, you can follow me on Twitter at Rupert Scofield, or follow the work of Finca International at Finca, that's F-I-N-C-A, or visit www.finca.org. Thanks for having me.
This is Inside Forbes Councils. We'll be right back.
Are you a successful executive or entrepreneur with insights to share? Learn more about our invitation-only communities at ForbesCouncils.com. Forbes Councils members have the opportunity to collaborate with fellow business leaders to overcome challenges and create new opportunities. Members also have access to support benefits that help them save time and money, and a platform, Community Voice, on Forbes.com, through which they can amplify their voices and exchange ideas. See if you qualify at ForbesCouncils.com.
Rupert Scofield pointed out how organizations can hold themselves accountable as impact investors, how to create real and lasting change, and how to navigate the sometimes conflicting goals of profit and impact. But investing in social impact doesn't necessarily mean investing dollars. Pamela Hawley is going to share her story of building Volunteer Match and discuss how social enterprises can leverage technology to connect people, volunteers, donors, and those in need. She'll tell the story of how she embraced the early web to make a difference, and how people today should consider new and emerging technologies like blockchain, AI, and cryptocurrencies as a way to make real and lasting impact.
Hi, my name is Pamela Hawley. I was very fortunate in the 1990s, after graduating from Duke, to be involved in the web at the very, very early stages. Now we look at the web and we just say, of course, we research things on the web, we buy things on the web, but at the time, it was very much unknown as to whether this would truly exist, and most of it existed of a bunch of random pages on the internet, and just not that many of them, to be honest. So being a pioneer at that time of actually creating one of the first e-commerce sites for good, because we weren't selling products. What we were doing was selling quote unquote volunteer opportunities. I was a co-founder of Volunteer Match. Volunteer Match has matched millions of people with volunteer opportunities all over the world. And I was responsible for helping start up the website and helping come up with all of the key features and then getting hundreds of nonprofits registered on the website during that time. I can't tell you what a challenge it was. Many people thought we were a for-profit. They were scared of us in Silicon Valley. And at the time, remember, most nonprofits, if they had internet at all, they definitely didn't have it officially as a nonprofit. What most people did is use a dial-up connection at home in order to register their nonprofit on Volunteer Match. And at that time, it was such a revolutionary concept that they were doing it through personal emails. There was no universal giving or water.org or general email for the companies, for the nonprofits. That just had not been accepted yet and adopted yet into natural professional practices. So I want to give you an idea of how nascent the web was at that time. The second key thing was that I went in with Volunteer Match and closed 20 companies, Dell, Gap, Levi's, all of them, creating a social enterprise application that allowed these companies to come in and record their volunteer hours. And in so doing, this was a huge new application. And to go in and to sell into companies and tell them that we as an organization had this application, that they could record their hours and that they could match their employees on volunteer opportunities. First of all, it was such a revolution to do this on the web, but two, to ask to get paid for it was such a big deal. And the way that I did it, honestly, was to pick up a Fortune 500 company list and call companies. So these are two areas of pioneering. One in technology, on the web, something totally new, something totally nascent. And then the second on the corporate side, which was just something that no one had done before. Keep in mind that at this time, the way that most people found volunteers was by putting a posting up on a bulletin board, asking neighbors, putting postings at libraries, even advertising in the local newspaper. There was no mass internet, web, tech way to disseminate your information other than the radio or TV. I can't emphasize that point enough. We're in such a different age now. There was no social media. Remember, there was no social media at that time. That came as a kind of decade later after the web. And so at this time, what you're really grappling with is a lot of forces of people saying, this won't work. How can you do this? This is a fad. This is something that is not going to be successful. This is scary. You're trying to profit off of us, whatever it might be. So I think what you have to do in a stage like that is to be very cognizant of the fact of your proposition as to why you're doing this. For me, as I look at it now, and as I went on to found Universal Giving, which helps people donate and volunteer in 100 countries across the world, for me, I launched that very soon after. That was all focused on international. And what we do here is we help people donate and volunteer. And then what we do is we go into companies and help them with their corporate social responsibility planning. We help make sure that their corporate social responsibility is helping the world in their strategy, their operations, their NGOs, and then we vet the NGOs with a 24-stage quality model, helping people know, companies and our individuals on our site, know that where they are giving is quality. And so what I would say what you have to do, and so with Universal Giving, what we've done is we're helping people go serve in refugee volunteer camps, or go build a home in Tanzania, or go volunteer in a school in Haiti, or go give to that school in Haiti, or go give to clean up the river in Cambodia. And so I think when you're facing something new, like technology adoption or social enterprise, things that aren't necessarily accepted in the world or accepted in the realm of nonprofit, you have to be very clear about the reasoning why you personally, number one, believe in this technology, and number two, what is your personal mission in your life? Because if you do that, then you're so clear against any of the challenges. For me, I had gone on volunteer trips when I was launching Universal Giving. I had gone to serve the victims of Pol Pot's regime in that huge genocide in Cambodia, and been on the ground with youth whose limbs had been blown off by mines and were trying to find jobs, and we were teaching them about computers and helping them get paid for keying in information for companies in America. I worked and volunteered in the earthquake crisis in El Salvador, and when no one was getting food to people up in the villages, way, way, way above the local towns, they had no food, no water sources. Volcanic fluid was coming into their rivers. The steeples of the churches had toppled off. Groups of families were huddled under tarps. And it was just devastating. I went and worked in microfinance in India, 4 hours outside of Bangalore, where people had just basic subsistence, and there was a 25% suicide rate of the farmers because they couldn't help their families succeed and thrive and even feed them. So because of all that volunteering, my heart was so excited to be able to have the web to scale through Universal Giving, thousands of people volunteering all over the world. So in my values and my heart, part of my mission is to live my life with loving others. So I did that through my volunteer trips. I do that through my volunteering. But then you can imagine for me, my conviction on the web, and that conviction of, oh my goodness, this can scale my vision of loving, scale my vision of service, and helping thousands of people do what I'm doing. So when you're facing a new technology, make sure, one, you believe in it, and make sure, two, your values are in line with it. Because my values were so in line with wanting to scale love, for lack of a better word, or scale volunteering, it helped me just embrace the technology. Because let me tell you what I faced. I faced people saying to me, your idea is dead in the water. There is no marketplace for people wanting to give or volunteer abroad. I had one of the heads of the top foundations telling me this. There is no marketplace for people wanting to give abroad. And then, not only do you face no's from people who are scared of the technology or don't agree with your idea, but then sometimes you face tough events. When I was launching Universal Giving, we faced 9/11. Do you think that people wanted to give after that? No. So you have to persevere. I had to persevere for the next 2 years until America's heart opened up again and we started to want to give and volunteer again. So sometimes in your nonprofit, in your social enterprise, you're going to have to be perseverant and be very perseverant to go after your ideas, even when people are saying, this isn't going to work. There isn't a marketplace for this. This is a fad. 9/11 happens, outside events happen. You have to be very, very persistent and high conviction on your values and why you're doing this. This is why I say to people again and again, don't just jump on the new fad. Don't just say, I'm going to go create a social enterprise because that sounds cool or because other people are doing it. If you don't feel like you like business or like making money or know how to set up good operations to make money, then it might not be a good fit. Social enterprise and working with companies and getting paid for helping them do highly strategic work in CSR and philanthropy and vetting their NGOs like we do at Universal Giving, you have to be an expert in that. You can't just go create a social enterprise and say, please pay me for this. I'm a nonprofit and I want to create a social enterprise. You have to have a good business plan, good business model, and high conviction that you can provide this service for companies and also have good sales and relationship building team. So again, going back to this concept of how do you persevere, how do you create value and create a nonprofit or create a social enterprise with new technology, you've got to be high conviction that you understand the technology and high conviction that it's in line with your values. Same thing on social enterprise. If you're going to go create a social enterprise, you have to have a high conviction of understanding business or wanting to understand it. And two, being high conviction on the fact that you have something of value to give to another party, be it a company, a university, or another organization, that you can sell to them that they will want to pay for it legitimately. And you have to have that perseverance. When I look at it sometimes, one of our top clients who we absolutely adore is one of the top leaders in CSR, which is Cisco Systems. And it took me more than 6 years to close them as a client. I mean, many people might have given up. They might have just said, well, I'm not going to, keep working on this and all of this. And it took me 6 years. I kept cultivating the relationship, outreaching to them, sharing information that would be helpful to them, not always saying something that would be about sales, sharing other information that I feel like could help their business or their industry or showed that I cared. Now, Cisco's been a client with us for 12 years. We have a very enriching relationship with them. They are a top-notch client. We have absolute transparency and candor. We grow with them. We help them grow. They help and encourage us to grow. It's an absolutely wonderful long-term relationship, and it's hard, enriching work. And I can't recommend it enough. But what if I given up after a year? What if I decided, well, they're not interested, I'm going to give up? You have to be perseverant. You have to have high conviction that this is a client we could really serve. We have something of value that we can provide them. And be very kind and positive and constructive and helpful along that way in trying to attain them as a client. I'm also a firm believer that after you have them, a client as a client, you need to do everything you can to keep them, to care about them, show them that you care. Some of the ways we do that is with our corporate clients. We put in a certain amount of pro bono hours, showing them that we care, that we're going to work for you part of the time for free. We care to show you we care so much about your account. We want to make sure you know that we're going to devote a certain amount of time to you. Second, what we do is we send out very private expertise emails that show our knowledge in the industry that are only available to our clients, again, showing value to them. So as we go back into this, how do you be a pioneer in technology or social enterprise? Hopefully, as you can see by some of the things I'm talking about, you really have to have a passion for the technology or a passion for the social enterprise and to push through the no's. Your high conviction, I believe in this technology, I believe in this social enterprise, I believe in this client. I've written some type of business plan or guidance that will show me and my board that I know what I'm doing and I have the knowledge here to execute. And then number 3, you have to push through those no's. If you give up in a year after not getting a sale or building up a relationship, and by the way, I will tell you, I'm only using sales on here so that people can understand that terminology. We simply don't use it at Universal Giving. Everything at Universal Giving is about long-term relationships. We don't talk about closing the deal, making a sale. We never use that language. We say it's a long-term relationship building, and we're here to provide long-term value. So I'm going to use that continuing forward in this podcast. So you have to think about that in everything you're doing, is that there's authenticity about pushing behind the nose because yes, I have something of value to offer in the technology I'm providing. We believe at Universal Giving that helping people donate and volunteer, where 100% goes direct to the cause. There's no cut in the donation. We have high conviction that we want people to donate and volunteer, and no one gets a cut of the donation. It goes straight to the nonprofit. That is that's a dream of ours. That's a vision of ours. That's a conviction of ours. If someone says that's not going to happen, or they don't agree with it, or they don't think technology can facilitate it, we put our heads down, we have our business plan, and we keep executing every day, day by day by day, in order to achieve our vision until that happened. Same thing on corporate. We don't give up just because we get a no in the first year. We don't give up when we get a no in the second year. We have high conviction. We have our business planning. We are in line with our values, and we keep executing every day until we make those relationships that allowed us to have the Fortune 500 clients we have, serving them in CSR consulting all over the world. So let's take a look at present day. What do you do with something like blockchain or Bitcoin or AI? Well, you're going to know what my first recommendation is. Don't go into that if you think it's a fun fad. Don't go into that if you think it's cool. You should have a high conviction, practical understanding of how machine learning, artificial intelligence, Bitcoin, or cryptocurrencies can serve the world in the for-profit or nonprofit sense, however you want to set this up as your social enterprise or as your nonprofit. And in there, what you can do then is come up with some type of business planning. I usually recommend like a 3-page executive summary at least, although in all the ventures I've started, all the nonprofit ventures, I've always had a full-fledged business plan with pro forma budgets based on a budget and also a contingency budget in case we couldn't fundraise the original funds. And so to me, have the planning, Make sure your values are in there and have high conviction as to why you think machine learning is the right thing that your nonprofit should go into. How is cryptocurrency going to change the world? For example, here's a great idea on cryptocurrency. Could it level the playing field and make voting more regular and honest and consistent and free of corruption? That might be a really neat idea to go after. I bet there are a lot of people out there who have high conviction that we want our voting to be pure, and especially in developing nations. So think about how you can use these new technologies in a practical way that fits with your values, fits with your experience, and you have high conviction on. Write some type of executive summary of 3 pages or business plan, and then you've got to push through those no's and then eventually build an organization around that idea. That's a whole nother podcast about how to build an organization. But this one today is about how do you push through tough times when it's new technology and there's going to be a lot of no's, or people think it's going to be a fad, or people say they just don't think it's going to work. Have your planning, have your high conviction, know your values, both for yourself personally and your organization. And persevere, persevere, persevere. Don't give up. You can do it. I'm doing it. I have done it, and I have to continue to do it every day. And I want to encourage all of you to have that conviction, to have that passion, to have the practical footsteps in place, such as the planning. And don't give up. Don't give up. You have high conviction in this technology. You have high conviction in this social enterprise endeavor. Don't give up. Don't listen to the naysayers. Stay convicted and keep proving your idea every day, bit by bit, and you'll succeed. I'm behind you 100%, and I hope this was helpful. This is Pamela Hawley, the founder and CEO of Universal Giving. Thank you.
As everyone is excited about new and emerging technologies, consider how you can put them to use to provide real and lasting change in the world. I want to thank Rupert Scofield and Pamela Hawley for sharing their thoughts. We'll see you on the next episode.
This has been Inside Forbes Councils. Please be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you're a member of the Forbes Councils and would like to participate in our podcast series, please email your member concierge. If you're interested in joining a Forbes Council, learn more at ForbesCouncils.com.